The Stockbroker's Father by Karen Conlay of Eleanora Heights, 2101. Narrated by Rowena Robinson. Big brown age spots lay speckled around the circumference of his hands, his tools of trade, gnarled and weathered like the outer limbs of an aging she-oak. He'd given up farm life years ago, but his old man's memory still flickered in his bosom. He hadn't lost it, the knack of turning earth into something magical. His garden lay scattered with over 108 varieties of roses. It was his own perfumed paradise, something he treasured. The old ticker worked a little better now after his pacemaker operation. The downside was that he couldn't do some of the things he loved. One of those was welding. Frailty had come in a moment and lingered like an unwanted lodger. No more neighbours knocking on his door to ask if he could fix something or other. In and around town he was known as Mr. Fix-It, a title he held proudly. This, in turn, had a dire effect on his own vulnerability. Another scratchy notch on his belt now lay with all the other something-elses that had been taken away. His twilight years had crept in silently like a thief, but to him he barely noticed, until now. He started forgetting things, slowly at first, a name here, a place there. Deep inside he knew something wasn't quite right, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Family encouraged him to remember the past by looking through old photographs and telling stories. To him, they were only fading memories. Faces that were familiar were no more. The mist of the past had thickened and stagnated. Life wasn't as easy as it used to be. He still ate the same foods, walked the same pathways, had the same friends. But life was different. He didn't feel the same anymore. Everyday chores became a burden. That likable character that everyone admired was slowly vanishing overnight. He became angry and frustrated. He didn't know why. His brain, a mishmash of thoughts tangled together, like wrong-sized knitting needles obstructing the clarity of view. Like a bat out of hell, the diagnosis came quickly. In one fell swoop he lost his independence. No more driving, no more Saturdays at the TAB, no more beers with mates. Life turned upside down and inside out. A downhill slide had begun. He looked both ways but didn't see it coming until it was too late. Grandchildren's smiles no longer recognizable. Family members were only ghosts of people now. He felt useless, like a used rag doll that had been thrown away, left to rot on the scrap heap, discarded and unloved. He had to find a way to pull himself out of this deep well he was drowning in. A way up, a way out. Fragments of memories were all he could muster. He had lived a long life, and for this he remained grateful. He still had his voice, though, a voice he thought should be heard for the many generations to come. So, he decided to record his story, his own true story, a story that would take us across the country. Each sentence filled with exciting promise of the next one, breathing in the air, smells and journeys of his life made him feel real again. His purpose was clear. He had to finish what he started. He had moved to Bundanoon after the farm, a pretty town in the Southern Highlands, surrounded by national parks. a place where one could discover their soul and still ask questions, a peaceful place where clarity of mind is perhaps awakened by early morning mists, laying like thick folds of phyllo pastry in the valleys. This soft carpet whispers to the uninitiated. One by one we all grow old, but as we do, we weave our own quilt whose loose threads remain solid for the taking. The end.